Alrighty, everybody. It's so nice to see everyone. Hi, Katie, Elise, Ryan, Karen, Kathy, Shankar, Terry, Fatima. The puppies say hello. We're all glad you all made it. Hope everyone's doing good. So you know the routine. Sit onto something, bolster blankets, anything you've got to add some height to your hip. Blocks work. I hope you've all taken this opportunity to expand your yoga prop repertoire. I know it doesn't need to be as big as the giant pile of stuff that you see in the camera sometimes, but just a couple things matters. Corgis don't have to be in part of the corga props. Corga props? Yeah. They work. So sitting on something, cross the shins, one in front of the other. Put the feet underneath the knees. Place the hands on the thighs, lift the spine up, drop the shoulders, chin stays lifted. Take a nice deep breath, press the hands down on the thighs again, lift the spine up taller, pull the back ribs in, side ribs forward, front ribs up, so you lift and dome the rib cage heart. Chin still neutral, move the head back slightly, lean your upper body back so you shift your weight into the back side of your body rather than the front. Keep your thighs active by flexing the foot. If your foot is pointed, you're going to do nothing but put weight into your knee. So really flex the whole of the foot back. Remember, this is pointing, this is flexing, this is a wrong angle, this is a right angle. That's not funny even to you, I know. It's fine. They're muted. They don't need to laugh anyway. Close your eyes. So, hold on, we're having a issue real quick, fixing it. So with your eyes closed, take a moment, check in with your breath. So as we keep going through these Tuesdays, these 2-hour classes, keep introducing the next Yoga Sutra. So this is our 5th one. So roughly translated, the 5th Yoga Sutra means that there are modifications of the mind, the 5 of them. Some are good, some are bad. There's different variations to this translation. But when we start getting into the yoga practice, it's about refining and defining those things that are coming up for us. Not the story we tell ourselves, but to the root. Because we can all address the problem up, or the modifications up, or the chitti-vrittis, more accurately, in a different way. Remember, the 5, a standard or ideal, by which things or values are measured by the mind or known. A mistaken view, which is observed to be such after study, right? Like thinking the sun revolves around the earth. We know that's not true, but continued force to believe in it. That's a modification of the mind. Vikpala, fancy or imagination, right? Like a beggar feeling happy when he pretends he's a millionaire, or a rich person being such a miser they starve themselves. Sleep, where the absence of ideals or experiences. Right, when we're sleeping, we don't exactly recall names, family, status, or knowledge, or wisdom, or even our own existence. We're in that total state that is totally open to whatever the dream experience gives us. That's why they say some of the modifications are positive and some are negative. Sleep has its positive qualities. And then finally, memory, or the holding fast to impressions of objects that one has experienced, right? We can live constantly in the past. So as we go through the practice tonight, my friends, whatever comes up for you, Try not to get too involved in the story, but let yourself recognize that sometimes we put stories on top of things, so our ego protects us from ourselves, right? Like the last Yoga Sutra, the identification of the ego. And maybe you start to peel back the layers of the story you tell yourself about yourself, right? Well, I just can't do this. I've never been able to. It's always hard, right? There's all sorts of stories. I used to tell myself the story, I'm never going to be able to be physically capable. That was a false belief, even after study had proved it wrong. So whatever comes up for you, my friends, peel back the layers. Maybe with the practice of yoga tonight, you'll find it's really one of those modifications of the mind. So the practice becomes not just how stretched are your hamstrings, how open are your hips, but how open are you to that examination of all the modifications that we carry within ourselves, eventual mastery of them, and letting them go. So even just sitting here with your feet flexed, your back ribs in, your side rib forward, your front rib up, check in with yourself. Did those things let go? I would say that falling out of the pose or just even not being able to hold a couple adjustments because your mind wandered is going back to past experience, maybe, or belief in something that's not true. There's no way I can hold this seated position for 2 minutes. Right? So check in with yourself, because sometimes the modifications, the chitti-vrittis, run away with us physically before we've even noticed, like a thief in the night. Each pose is a chance to find them, to connect to them, and not to let there be a story about why we can't work with them, change them, master them, and ultimately let them go. But to do the opposite. To get closer to it, ourselves, in a fullness that is what yoga offers. Bring the palms together at the chest, let the thumbs touch the sternum. Index finger moves away from middle, pinky finger moves away from ring. Eyes still closed, head still up. All the other modifications still happening. We'll shortly 3 times and begin. Take a breath. Om. Flex your feet. Om. Back rib in, side rib forward, front rib up. Om. Bow your head for a moment. And salute the essence of yoga that's inside you. Bring your hands into the lap. Let your head rise and the eyes open. All right, everybody, let's do some work. So let's go ahead and grab a yoga strap if you have one. If you don't have a yoga strap, a towel, a belt, whatever you've got laying around your house that is strap-like, get it. Lay flat on your back. Do the green mat. You have to move that puppy. You're gonna have to probably clear your yoga mat of some pets. Just terrible tragedy. You're gonna lay flat on your back. And what I would like for you to do is take the strap and hook it around your right foot and stretch your right leg straight up. As Tristan is again demoing for everybody, which is very sweet of her. Make sure the strap is around the front of the right foot, near the toes, not on top of. Start there for right now. And just start with lengthening your right leg up. Supta Padagonstasana. So the interesting thing about some of the supine hamstring stretches is that they can be used for a lot of modification to the hip and back, but also get to a lot of different parts of the calf, Achilles tendon, knee, and really challenge us, not just in how tight or fatigued the lifted leg may be, in this case, the right leg, but how much we passively don't use the left leg itself. So as you're laying on your back with your right leg up in the air, push your right foot up into the strap. And while you push the foot up against the strap, push your foot up. Imagine, no, I didn't say straighten your knee. Push your foot up. Point the foot. Yeah. Actively extend up through the leg. Don't just passively pull on that foot like it's something you're trying to pull around your yard. The leg activates and extends on the front. So you see the foot points for yourself like a Barbie foot. And then you have to activate the back side of the leg. So while the front side of the leg extends up through the front 5 joints, and those 5 joints push up, push through the heel also. So you're thinking about stretching your Achilles tendon also. So the toes flex back. Yeah, exactly. So even though the foot may level a little bit, which is perfectly normal, your arch of your foot starts to make shape. Make its natural shape. Make shape. Starting to sound like my old teachers. Just skip words entirely. Like it's not my first one. So you have to push through the front of the foot up and then stretch through the heel. And it's not a retraction of the ankle. If Tristan or if everyone just pulled their toes as deep to their face as they could, that collapses your ankle joint. It flattens your arch. Extend through those 5 joints and then push through the heel simultaneously. So the arch has a natural curve. This takes a little bit to get used to because it's very easy to, one, push the knee too straight or make it happen from your toes. But you can work both sides of your foot. And when you do that, your leg gets way more active. She's already shaking. We're like 2 minutes in. It's going to be a long 2 hours. Now do the same with your leg that's on the floor. The left leg stretched out, laying on the floor. Push through the top of the foot first just to get your thigh active. Push those 5 joints away from you like there was something imaginary. You can even put your foot up against something to help this. I didn't ask Tristan to do it, so I'm not going to have her pause and do it right now. But as you push through those front 5 joints, and then try to push through your heel at the same time. Extend one then the other. So you start to build this front to back balance, right? The first 2-hour online class I taught was the 4 quadrants of the legs again. So now we're going to keep reaffirming that because the techniques don't stop once that class is over, right? You got to carry it on to the next lesson. Like you learn to play an instrument, you learn how to pluck the string, you got to remember how to pluck the string when you learn how to fret the board. All right. Work more on pushing the left thigh down and keeping the front of the foot active than you are how much you pull your right leg to you on your own string. Because the right leg in reality is trying to extend away from the hip by action of the front and back side of the leg. The foot comes towards you, which you can start pulling it towards you in a little bit only by bending your elbows wide so you keep your shoulders from your neck. Right? This is not a very complex thing. Lots of us do this pose. But the complexity lies in the different layers of the actions of our bodies, not in getting the foot by our head. You could practice this pose the whole of your life, never get that foot near your head, but if you learned about how your hip works, how your back responds, keeping your leg active so you're putting more of yourself into the pose and learning more about yourself, you've become a master of the pose. Mastery of yoga is not learning all the yoga sutras or knowing all the philosophy. Mastery in yoga is mastery of oneself. No ifs, ands, or buts. Not intellectual. It's whole body, whole self. So as you bend the elbows just a little bit and you pull the right leg towards you, you're going to feel that hamstring. Notice how your right hip wants to grip and your right low back wants to do the lifting of the leg. Point through the right foot again. So you're pushing those 5 joints up into the strap and then stretch the heel up again so you get out of gripping in the groin and hip. So yes, your hamstring's screaming, but it's not because your hip is pulling your leg up. The strap is pulling the leg up. The leg is just wanting to ascend away from the body. How's that, Tris?
Stretch.
It's a stretch. Work your left leg more. Great. Hold on to the strap in only your left hand. The right arm relaxes. The left elbow still stays bent, so you're not pulling the strap towards you by your shoulder and neck, but your elbow going wide. Now pull the leg across about 10 inches. Classic stuff. I've taught this 16 years now.
The hip go off the floor.
Listen, not done. The right hip will start to come up off the floor, but in this variation, it's about, can we use the femur bone to push the hip down? So imagine if I were to come by and put my hand on your heel and push your heel down into your hip while your foot presses up towards the ceiling. You're really trying to use your thigh muscle to pull the femur bone down into the socket of the hip, and then you bend that left elbow, drawing the leg towards your left shoulder a little bit. So all that tight stuff in there wakes up. And then, you start to check in. Which of the chitty ritties pops up for you? What's the story you're telling yourself about this? It's too hard, I can't. Right? Yeah, you can. You just maybe you're pushing too hard. It's not about forcing, but can you learn something while you're working in this pose, even if you don't know what it is you're learning? Maybe you have feelings or emotions come up about this pose. I know some of you are having feelings and emotions come up about me the longer I hold you in this pose, but that's not my chitty ritty, that's yours. You can't key my car while I'm here. Take your right leg all the way across. Let your body roll onto the left hip, and then stretch the right ribs to the right. The right leg stretches across towards the left side of the body. The right ribs stretch to the right. The arm relaxes. Don't turn your head yet. Check in with your legs. Now, even though you rolled onto the left hip, did the left foot keep working? I say no. Push through those 5 joints again, and then push through the heel. So you feel the left leg become very active. And what that does is set your femur bone in such a way that it removes some of the low back work. And then you may work your top leg better, your right leg. Push your 5 joints into that strap, push through the center of that heel and those 5 joints at the same time, and then bend the elbow to draw the leg into the stretch. So it's the hinging range of motion, but the left leg doesn't quit. Because if the left leg is the balance point, remember I've always taught, work from the foundation of the pose up. If the left leg gives out, that's a clear sign you've lost the pose, you've lost the alignment and the chance to learn something out of it. You push those 5 joints. You see when the arch starts to collapse. Those of you with collapsed ankles, what you consider bad arches, hypermobile knee, learning to extend the leg and keep both sides of the leg active like this is very good. She's shaking, so she's in it. Aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Right. So hold the pose. So nice to see everybody. Stu, Terry, Sitha, cool. Mindy. Phyllis is in there. Hi, Phyllis. Someone randomly called iPhone. That's fun. Hi, Caitlin, Christy, Daphne. Let's see everybody. Pratima. Shuba. That's good. All right, bring the leg up. Switch hands so the right hand holds the strap. Check in with your left leg real quick. What happened to your left leg when you came up? Did you let the leg totally relax on the way up or not? And you keep that left leg active the same way your right leg should be active. Just because the left leg isn't getting pulled on by the strap doesn't mean it doesn't have its own work to do. So work that left thigh, not just by pressing the knee down. Remember, I'm asking you to extend first, push through the front 5 joints of the foot, then push through the center of the heel at the same time. So it lengthens the calf and the Achilles tendon. You'll hear some teachers say that when you straighten your legs, you're trying to press your Achilles tendon down into the floor. Extend, then flex your thigh. It'll help. Then stretch your right leg out to the right. To the right, all the way. Now the left hip wants to come up off the floor. I know it's going to move a little bit. Do the best you can to pin it down. We're not going to get a protractor out and like measure all the range of motion of movement. But do your best to work that left leg long, pushing that foot out against that strap or out against the invisible air. Push the heel out and then redo the same thing on your right leg. Instead of trying to pull the leg down so you unbalance your pelvis, let it lift a little bit. Work your leg into the strap or towel or belt strap or whatever rope kind of thing you've got going on. And then through your heel, so you extend the top of the leg and the back side of the leg. So not only do you start to work the muscles inside the top side of the pelvis, the hip flexors, hip extenders, you get to the muscles on the bottom side. Glute, perineum, psoas, all that stuff that's really, really hard to move. And then you hold for a minute and breathe. Again, see what comes up for you. What are the stories you tell yourself about yourself? And even though you may not know exactly where they come from, just knowing that they're there is kind of a tool that keeps them from running your life. Like those distortions of the mind will protect themselves with all sorts of things. There they are. Bring the right leg up. Great. Keep your right leg in the air. Back off of how close you're pulling it towards the body. So lower the right leg down a little bit. Let's add to it before we even switch to the left side. Keep your right leg up. Bend your left knee. Walk your left foot towards your right hip. And then let the knee fall down towards the floor. The more stretch you want out of this, I'm just giving you options. The more stretch you want out of this, the more you move the left knee like it's coming directly out of the hip socket. If your left knee is to a little bit to the left side of the body, it's going to remove some of the hip, quad, groin work, but the left knee straight out of the left hip, contiguous line, will increase the quad stretch a bit and will make the right leg have to work harder. Just says Hatha yoga on the thing, not easy Hatha yoga. Point your right foot up into the strap. Now stretch your right heel up while keep pushing the foot up. So it's the same time. You got to work both sides of the leg in balance. Hold that and just let me say, don't push your left knee down to the floor. Let it fall down. Let your body weight hang on it. If you want to do anything that might add more to the left leg, point your left foot and pull your left heel closer towards your right buttock. And push the top of your foot down into the floor. That'll do some work. Couldn't see, but you know that in agreement. All right. Now, once you've got the right leg extended, pushing through the right 5 joints, through the right center heel, bend the elbows to pull it in. Don't shrug your shoulders up into your neck. Don't pull your arms overhead right now, even though that is a valid technique. Just want your elbows wide. The more you move your elbows out wide in line with the shoulders, the more you'll open your back up over time. Release your neck. If you relax your neck. You have to be proactive in the relaxing process. Good. Now, take your right leg out to the right. We're not going to cross it over to the left in this variation. When you take your right leg out to the right, don't go to your full descent of the leg. If your toes touch the floor because you're very naturally flexible, great, congratulations. Lift it back up, push through the 5 joints again, push through the heel, get the extension of the leg first. Always move on the extension, because if you just drop the leg without an active leg, your hip and groin will grip up more. So even if you have to lift the leg back up, reflex it, and then keep that flexion on the movement. Because a lot of times you get gracefulness and stability in the muscles and joints of your body when you keep a muscle flexed and move it, not just flail it around like a Muppet. As fun as Kermit made it look, doesn't feel good when you do it all the time. While your right leg's extended, press the top of your left foot down firmer into the floor. to really make that left hip wake up. Is it awake? Says it's awake. As and as it gets more fatiguing, don't try to push down deeper into it. Bring the right leg up just an inch or so you can practice better engagement and extension. Practice the stability and the endurance of the muscle rather than the range of motion of the muscle or the flexibility right now. Range of motion will happen. Flexibility will happen. The 4 healthy aspects of muscular body is strength, endurance, range of motion, and balance. If you have those 4 things, you will naturally be flexible. You can't force range of motion. The body will protect itself from stuff that's too dangerous. Bring the leg all the way up. Switch your feet. So when you slow down poses, even one that is considered so simple in the yoga world like this, you really get a lot of work out of it. You get to give yourself some time to deep dive into it safely, but without force, but with focus. All right, so your right leg will be straight laying on the floor. Left leg will be up in the air. Strap, sock, whatever you got to hold on to that bad boy, fingers, whatever. Point your left foot. Push the left foot up against the fabric of your strap, and then stretch your left heel up at the same time. So it's not about refracting the foot back, refracting the foot back, refracting. It's like we're computer programs. Everything's digital. It's not reflexing the foot back, but stretching up through the heel and the foot at the same time so both sides of the leg work. If you're shaking, I'm happy for you. You know you're alive. My teacher would say, that leg has no control. It's full of chicky-fricky. It's full of disturbances. You're shaking, don't worry.
Oh, I mean the fairy over here.
Once your left leg is active, activate your right leg, not by pushing the knee down. Don't worry about your knee joint. Push through the foot. Push the 5 joints away from you so you feel the leg extend on the top side of the leg and then stretch through the heel at the same time. So even though you may feel like the foot kind of level out, the arch is very active. The right leg is active at its extension first and then the thigh. Bend the elbows, pull the elbows wide, draw the left leg to you a little bit, let it stretch out and hold. Breathe into it. One of the first things that the body wants to do when it's uncomfortable is stop breathing. That uncomfortableness is the body not trying to protect itself or tell you something's wrong, but to me, it's the stuff that's inside of us that doesn't want to get looked at, confronted, or dealt with, that's trying to get you to bail out early. Right? You're in the middle of the pose, you have all this stuff going through your head, it makes you forget breathing. It's a distraction. So focus on your breath, focus on the actions of the pose. Right now, the actions are fairly simple. Push through the feet, push through the heels, stretch the leg up in the air. If you want to boil it all down, get rid of all the pretty stuff, it's like 3 things. All the complexity, the beauty, that's inside. So see what pops up for you. He's got your back. Hold on to the strap in the right hand. Left arm relaxes, chills out. Move the left leg across to the right side about 10 inches. Once you move it across, pause. Point through the foot. And you might even notice when you start to move the legs in these lateral directions, you start to rotate or twist, how one part of your foot doesn't push up into the strap as much as the other. Really got it. That's the side of the leg that wants to disengage. When you move laterally, the inner thigh muscles or outer thigh muscles start to have to work. They may not want to. But who's the boss? Is it your distractions or is it you? Push up through those big toes, push up through the 5 joints, then through the heel, and then pull it across, and then pull the hip down. So you're using the femur bone and the thigh muscle to pull the bone into the hip socket as you pull the leg across a little bit. And then if you want more stretch, you pull the foot towards your right shoulder. Don't lose your right leg on the floor. Don't push it down, but extend it. Down will come one time. Then shake like a leaf in the wind. This is all the same principled action you would do in all your standing poses too. The extension of your leg or energy or your power or your focus through the feet, through the ground, so your legs lift you. Doing this from supine gives you a chance to really see what happens when you do and do not engage the legs. All right. Pull the left leg all the way across, rolling onto your right hip. And as you go, don't lose the right leg's action. You're still pushing through the front 5 joints of the foot, through the heel. Both parts of the foot are active at the same time in their own way. And then the left leg, which rolls over, it can lay on the floor, it can lay on a block, it can float in the air, that's all fine. Push through the strap in that action. So you have to see what parts of the leg want to disengage. When you push through the front 5 joints of the foot and then push through the heel, are all 5 joints pressing into the strap equally? Can you do that? Very hard. And then when you've twisted your leg across, take a breath. Don't try to turn your head or push your shoulder down to the floor. Go to your middle left rib cage and pull it to the left as your left leg stretches to the right. So the twist is happening in the core of your body, not in your shoulder, neck, or hip joint. Work them legs. The strength of the legs is more important in this than any other piece. Especially if you're stuck at home, you're sitting a lot. We're all kind of stuck at home sitting a lot, right? Or if your work is essential and you're out there, you know, a lot of stress, a lot of tension. So, right, the chitti vrittis in of themselves, stress and tension, a mistaken view, right? Or imagination run wild, or being sedentary, right? Almost like being asleep where you can't even imagine your muscles getting up and running around or moving in some small way. Take a couple breaths. Breathe like you actually like it, even if you got to fake it. All right, exhale if you go with the leg. Work your right leg as you come out. You're not done with the pose until you're back at where you started. So did your right leg kind of just drop out when you came out? Focus on what you're doing. Push through the right foot, the 5 joints, and then the heel. So the foot extends and pushes out, and then the heel follows it. So the arch of the foot creates shape. Hold the strap in your left hand. Stretch your left leg out to the left side of the body. As you do this, don't lose the right leg. This will help keep the hip down. It will help keep you from twisting the body up. Just holding the whatever you've got in your left hand, stretch it out to the side. Remember, don't worry about how deep down you go. You can stop even well before what you think is your maximum. Lift it up and practice the extension of the pose better through the 5 joints. Is each joint pressing equally into the strap? If not, run, get control of it. It may take some practice. It may take a number of times to do it, but you can get that control. Now, once you've got those 5 joints, then go through the center of the heel, pushing it away at the same time. You've got 6 points you're really focused on. So you see what went from 2 actions can develop into 7. And we could break it down into more layers like that. Work your right leg like your left, left like your right. And if your hip opens and your foot goes down a little bit, great. But if it goes down and you lose it, lose the extension, go back. Always work stability first, then range of motion, in my opinion. Protects your joints, protects your muscles, connective tissue, especially those of us that have a lot of pain. And remember, if you start to lose it being so low down, it's okay to come up and work the stability of the pose better. It's preferred. It's more important to practice not burn yourself out in each practice, but practice do the whole thing longer with more precision than it is just to slam your way through it, especially in the human body. Ooh, got the glare. There we go. All right, left leg up in the air. Back off of how close you're pulling the left leg to the body a little bit, lower it about halfway down. Bend your right knee, move your right foot across towards your left hip, and let the knee fall to the floor. Remember, if you're not quite sure what that means, you can always take a look at the screen. Tristan is doing a pretty good job of demoing. Of suffering graciously. You didn't see that look. I was covering it with my knee, but it would have burned a hole in the screen. So remember, the right foot comes across the left hip. Point the foot and actively push the top of the foot down towards the floor to open that hip up. You can use your hand to pull it in closer if you like. You know, do you. Your yoga practice is your time on the mat to experiment. Point through the left foot, then stretch up through the left heel at the same time, and then bend the elbows, draw the leg to you. As the right foot pushes down so the right quad engages and extends. Good job, Caitlin, keeping your knee slightly bent. Very nice. I know, yes, you snuck in, it's good. Practice social yoga distancing. Nice, Daphne, good extension. Nice picture of Hermione there, Ashwini, very cool. Kathy, excellent extension of your left leg. Good bend to the elbows, keep it up. Katie, point your foot, more. And now push the heel up and point your foot, same time. Better, now your arch is alive. Now you have a living foot. All right, hold the strap in your left hand. Push down through the right foot into the floor so the quad stabilizes to the hip. Stretch your left leg out to the left side. Don't lose that foot though. Remember, it's not about how deep down it goes to the floor. Work more the extension, the 5 joints, center heel. And then really, if you want more, you pull the foot closer to your body towards like your left ear with the extension. Down will come with time and practice, patience especially. Take a nice breath in. Bring your body up. Take the leg out. Drop the foot to the floor. Take your strap, set it to the side. Woo! Stretch your legs out for a moment. Lay flat. Just let your back body adjust. Good job. All right, up you come. Come on up to your knees. If you are like me and your knees are sensitive, you might want to put a blanket on the floor or some kind of padding. You can use a small pillow or whatnot. I think Tristan's opting for no padding, but grab the blanket. So Tristan's going to model good prop use under the knee. So she's just going to lay the blanket under her knees so she has some padding. So if you watch Tristan for a moment, I'm going to take her all the way through the pose, and then I'll talk you all through it again. This way. So you're going to start with both knees on your blanket. And even through the pose, you're going to want to try and keep your hips stacked above your knee joint fairly well. You're going to stretch your left leg out to the left side with your left toes not pointing straight ahead, but turned out at a slight angle. Your left heel more or less should be in line with your right knee on this. Now, regardless of past teachings, do not try to keep your hips perfectly parallel, like the very terrible saying of having your hips between two panes of glass. Ew, just wrong. So swinging gait is very similar to what you just did on the floor, right? There's a bent knee, there's going to be an extended lateral leg. So this foot here on the floor has to be very active. This is what's going to open your hip, because if she does the pose without activating the leg, stretch your arms out. Both arms, you have to. Stretch out over the left leg and then slide your hand down towards that. And then this arm comes over. Grabs, touch the shoulder for right now. You can see the rib cage is sunk in. Her hips just all off anywhere. The dog had to move. And she probably can't lift her chest up very well. Hard, huh? This knee is also very unstable. So if she comes up for a moment, we're almost there. Push through the foot the same way you just did. Imagine the fabric was on the bottom side of the foot and push down those 5 joints, especially that big toe. Push down through the center of the heel, flex it deep. So the knee can rotate. See your hip shift back? 2 panes of glass, bad. Pelvis opening, good. So now when she stretches her arms out and stretches out over the left leg, let's keep that leg work from the foot. Slide down. See how much deeper she's already gone, even without her hand touching her foot. She's like way past her original point. Take the hand back behind your head, touch the shoulder. Now, rotate the ribs up. See, there's no collapse. There's lateral extension through the whole body. And the more she works through this leg, the more her thigh can work into the pose, not to tuck forward, but to move the femur bone in towards the hip so she can lift her core and torso up and eventually go to the full extension where she reaches her hand down to her other wrist, pulls up on it, and rotates the torso again. This is very good. This is very good. I'm going to leave her here. All right. Everyone to your mat. Kneel on something. You can come out. We're not going to do it the wrong way. That's why she's here. You get to do it the right way. She suffers for your growing. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit notifications. I guess that's what everyone who does video says these days. I don't know. Stretch your left leg out. Turn your left toes out slightly so they're not fully parallel out to the side of the body like Warrior 2 or half moon. Kind of turn towards the corner. Arms out wide. Right leg is strong. The knee presses down. Push the foot down into the floor more than anything on the right leg. Push your left foot down. Connect to that big toe on the left foot. Drive it into the ground. Drive the pinky toe joint down and then the heel. Try to let your thigh rotate. Even if your hip goes back, that's correct. The hips are not supposed to be perfectly smashed even in this. There's a shift to them because it's about opening your hip and back. Stretch out over your left leg as far as you can reach your body. Don't go down yet, just stretch long. And if you know you can't touch the floor or your own shin, it's okay to put your hand on a block on the back side of your leg. Yeah, she's demoing, it's very cute. Stretch out farther, work your leg more, and then take your hand down to calf, floor, foot, whatever you got to touch. Take your right arm straight up, stretch it up tall, and then bend the elbow to take your right fingers to touch your left shoulder blade, or somewhere in that area. Some of us may only touch the back of our heads. We're tight in the shoulder. Work here. And just hold the pose for a second. Flex the leg and work the extension of the leg more through the foot. Connect to those 5 points on the foot. So you are going to work from the most stable part of the pose up. So if you know you can't get your pinky toe down, you don't need to push your torso down into it because it's not going to go anywhere good. Work your leg, even if it means lifting up. Giving yourself these little, very nice. Don't come out of the pose though. I compliment you does not mean you get out of the pose. I critique you, it does not mean you get out of the pose. What your teacher says to you should never get you out of the pose. You should do your pose. All right. For a moment, as you work your left leg, stretch your left hip towards your right hip and then lift your chest up. And instead of trying to take your right arm down to the wrist, stretch your right arm straight like you're just floating it out over the left hand. Extend your lateral body as deep as it can. And as your right body stretches out, can you stretch your left side of your body too? And breathe. Through the nose. Don't breathe through your mouth. That's breathing. Coming up is challenging on this pose. It demands a lot of strength of the left leg. Do not fall forward onto your mat. Pick your right arm straight up. Pick yourself up from that arm and your left leg and come on out. Well done, I guess. Switch legs. Left knee comes to the floor, right leg stretches out. Will you disturb that puppy? Oh, she disturbed that puppy. So indignant now. Now he's going off camera. Arms out wide, right toes turned out. So even though the arms are out, work through your right leg more. He did such a nice upward dog before he laid back down. Push down through the right big toe, the right pinky toe, center of the right heel. Rotate your right thigh so the hip does move back. That is correct. Stretch out over the right leg. Lengthen your upper body. Extend laterally. Let your right hip move with it. Then when you've gone to your maximum, work your right leg more. Most of the weight wants to go to the heel. Work your right big toe and pinky toe down more. So the knee floats. Those of us with hypermobility, Caitlin, Elise, Daphne, just off the top of my head. I know some of you are out there. The knee wants to drop on all the weights in the heel. The knee must float by putting more pressure in the front of the foot. Take your right hand down to the shin, block, foot, floor. Stretch your left arm straight up. Reach, open the shoulder, and then bend the elbow, taking the hand behind the head or reaching it down to your shoulder blade on the right side. Work your right leg, rotate the core. How's that feel? Yeah, it feels good. It's a great pose. Swing gait is fantastic. It's such a unique pose that I don't find gets taught a lot because it doesn't, and what modern America calls the flow of yoga. I'm air quoting very hard and sarcastically right now. But it does such good things for the hip, the back, the strength of your legs, your core muscles. It gives you that extension that is sometimes hard to reach. All right, enough hammering. Stretch your left arm out straight, extending it laterally with the rest of the body, kind of like side angle. Don't worry about taking it down to the foot. And stretch your right side equal to your left side. You feel that stretch on your left side, create that on the right side of your body. So you're not just hanging out on the arm, but the right side of the body is active as the left. Every part of you is as active as your right leg. So if your right leg is not doing anything, the rest of your body won't do it. Don't float your arm up. Thank you. As much as all of you really like this, because you got like a barrier of internet and screen, she's suffering so hard. Stretch your arm up. When you come up, don't just pick yourself up from the arm. Push the foot down and lift yourself up so the leg is active, especially through the front of the foot. Bring the arm down, leg out. How'd that feel? Good. Turn that way. So if you watch Tristan for a second, you're going to need a couple blocks. You might even need a chair at home. If you do not practice Uttanasana or camel pose, or have no clue what that is, you need a chair. So any kind of chair will work. Doesn't have to be a yoga chair. It can be any kind of household chair. If you're using the chair will be behind you, so the seat of the chair is just over the feet. Tristan's going to get and scare the puppy. He's so sad. So if you're using a chair, the chair is just going to go over the heels, like so. So I'm going to have Tristan show with the chair and then with the blocks real quick, because I want to touch on a couple different things we're going to do with this pose. Some stuff we've done before, some stuff we might not have. When you're in this pose, the glute and the leg are very active to keep the pelvis in line with the knee in the beginning. If you start to take your hands back onto the chair and your hips fall this way into the feet, you've lost the pose. You have to stop already, because to get your hands down and then try to push your hips out will happen here in your low back and very little leg action. You need to start stable and then fold the upper body into it. Even if you only ever just go this far, you've already opened your chest and kept the stability of the pose. I would be perfectly happy with this, but not satisfied. You could practice more. So the first thing we're going to do is traditional Uttanasana, where you take your hands back by putting your hands on your hips, push your hands into your pelvis hard, push your pelvis into your hands a little bit, both working against each other, create a muscle flexion in your legs that stabilizes your back. Lean your chest back, lean your head back. Pause. If you look at her neck, if you feel your neck, you feel the back of your head crunch into your neck, you're wrong. You have to keep the back of your neck long. Stretch your head back. Hang your head back. Don't just collapse it into your spine. So lean your head back, then fold back. And once you've gone as far as you can, take your hands to the chair. Keep the bend of the upper back, though. The elbows can bend in this. The real pose is not getting yourself back there and then walking your hands into the collapse, but how far can you bend on your own power and then use the support of the chair to kind of experiment and develop the endurance. Very nice. Come on up. If you use blocks, your hands go down to the blocks, and then I'm gonna get funky with it. Are you gonna use the chair? Okay. All right, to your blocks, to your chair if you haven't already. If you're already there and you've been doing it instead of watching, shame on you. Not like I can do anything about it. What did it block? All right, block on each side of the foot or chair over the feet. Hands on your hips, everybody. Push your hands into your pelvis. No, do not put your hands on your kidneys. Go low, go to the hips. It is your duty to press into that booty. Press your hands into the hips hard. Press your hips back into your hands a little. Now, stretch your head back first. Don't crunch the neck, but stretch the head. If I were to grab the top of your hair and pull you back, that's where it starts moving. And then your upper body goes, then your mid body goes. And when you've gone as far as you can, where you feel like you're going to drop and lose the legs, that's when you take your hands down to the support of the chair, foot, block, whatever, and hold. Work the strength of the supporting part of the body to create good extension of the body. So I got Uttanasana for a moment, even if only for a few seconds. Take a few deep breaths. We're not going to go too long in this because we're going to do some modification stuff. 2, 1. Great. When you come up, try to work through your legs and pick your chest up. Push your hands into your back even and come all the way up like you got in. Great. Good job. Now, keep your left knee where it is. Step your right foot in front of you, like you're kneeling. Move the foot far enough forward that the foot is directly under the knee, more of the heel under the knee than the toes. That's pretty good. But when you stepped your foot forward, did your hips twist a little bit? Try not to do that. So the left hip tends to go back, the right hip tends to twist forward. It's going to happen. You just can correct it with your foot on the floor. Step your foot up. Check your hips. Place your hands on your glutes. Palms on your glutes. It is your duty to push into that booty. Push your hands into the glutes. Do not tuck your buttock that much. Push your hands against, push your glutes against, flex them. Doesn't mean tuck. You can flex your buttock muscles without tucking. Then lean your head back, stretch your upper body back, go back as deep as you can. Push through the foot that's on the floor in front of you, hard. Especially the big toe, pinky toe, center heel. And then take your hands down to the blocks. And it's gonna feel like, oh, I can go much deeper now. Huh, Trip? So if you can go deeper, take your hands down the chair legs of the chair. Turn your blocks lower. Take your hands to your foot or to the floor. So you get this deep crescenting backward bend, but the left knee that you might fall out of, she stopped pushing in the front foot. I guarantee you, if you fall, you stop pressing in the front foot. All right, up you come. Let's switch legs. We're going to try this a few different times. So from the kneeling position, left foot forward. So right knee on the floor, left foot in front of you. Now, you might have noticed on the other side that when you start to lean your chest back, it's easy for your hips just to kind of overly push forward and the knee of the front leg goes past the toes. That foot is there, that leg is there to promise that not to happen. This is to teach your back to flex. Those of us with challenges in Uttanasana, backward bends, hip, groin pain, this is really great to help teach that to balance, but you can't let your hips dive out. The knee stays above the heel. That the front leg must be strong, holding its position. Make the back do its work. All right, hands on the booty, press your hands in, push your glutes against, push your right knee into the floor, push your left big toe, pinky toe joint, center heel. You've been practicing this for the last couple of weeks. Stretch your head back first. Even if you got a little bit of neck worry, start to experiment. Move your head, then move your chest, then move your mid back, and down you go. Left leg, Tristan. Push that foot harder. Very nice. Very good, everybody. Diane Maddox, it's nice to see you. Josie. You don't have to wave. Don't try to wave while you're in this pose. Just do the pose. RB, glad you're here. Stu, you're sticking it out. Good, buddy. Mindy Brooks, hi. Divya, always love to see you. Take a breath. Push through the legs. Hands on the hips, stand up. Very nice. Switch legs again. So we're about to the first hour. So after this, after we do this again, there'll be a chance for you to take off if you need. But we're going to add to it, continue the practice until 8 o'clock. In the last half hour is pranayama. So in a few minutes of answering questions. So right foot forward, knee above heel, hips more or less even. You're going to tell when you put your hands on your glutes. Palms into the glutes, glutes against the palms, chest up, head back, chest back, core back. Lean into it. Press the hands into the glutes the whole way down. Grab hold for dear life. There you go. Don't let that knee bend deeper. That right knee pushes your right hip back. Yeah, I'm looking at all of you. Try to keep that knee strong. Keep that leg. Thank you. Good, Katie. Pratima, nice. Good form, Sita. Lena, excellent. Not even going back with your arms, but good to challenge your core muscles. Nice grabbing the chair. I'm proud of you. Very nice. Excellent, Kathy. Kathy, challenge you to move your blocks back closer to your heel. Yeah, there you go. Take a couple deep breaths. Hands on the glutes if you go. Better. Switch legs. Do the left side again. And I promise you, there's not doing both in front of you at the same time. That would be some weird chair pose. No, I'm joking. There's nothing like that. I thought about it though. That would be fun. All right, hands on the glutes. Let's get this side done. So those of you that need to go at 7 may depart. Hands on the glutes, hands into the hips, hips into the hands. Head back, left leg strong. Work through the foot first so the leg is strong, so the whole backside of your body is stable. Lean into it. You've all got this. When you go back, don't let your right hip fall towards the block. Keep your right hip and left hip even. That means the left foot presses into the floor to pull the left hip back. The right knee presses into the floor to move the right hip forward a little. How's that feel, Trish? Take a breath. Take 2, because that I promise you, your first one was small. Through the nose. Shut your mouth, or you're going to catch flies. Come on up. Well done, everybody. Good. Now that you've warmed up both sides a little bit differently, you feel the strength of your legs. Both feet at the, both knees at the same time. Full Uttanasana. And so you'll notice we kind of went through some of this differently. We started with twisting into backward bends into lateral, and now we're going back to backward bends. So we're going to end on a twist before everyone goes. Hands on the glutes. Hands in the glutes, glutes back. Work through your legs. Imagine pressing your feet into the floor or the pinky toe, big toe, and heel like you had your foot in the floor in front of you. Just because the foot's in a different position doesn't mean it can't be active to activate the leg. Head back. Lean back. And then when you've gone back to whatever degree you can, descend your arms. Your arms are the last thing in it. Because the arms, it's too easy just to put all our weight in our arms and then we don't actually work the stuff we need to. So by breaking this down and working from the ground structure up, we're creating good, stable practice of the spinal column. And then that way, we're less likely to hurt ourselves when we're doing this stuff. And, you know, on the philosophical form, we're living the philosophy of getting into all the stuff that, you know, we might think is not great about ourselves, right? I'll tell myself, I think my legs look like skinny chicken legs. Well, I got to do the poses better to change that. And then discover why I think that about myself, other than they do like skinny chicken legs. Take a breath. Hands on the hips. Up you go. Very nice. How was that? Very good? Okay. So I would grab a chair of some kind. If you do not have a chair nearby, it's okay to use 2 blocks if you practice revolved triangle. If you don't know what that is, for sure, grab a chair. Dustin does not do a lot of revolved triangles, so she's going to use a chair. Open it up, put it on the end of your mat. So you're going to stand facing the chair, the seat of the chair. Go ahead and start to follow along. This is not too complicated. We're not going to get too deep into it. Put both hands on the seat of the chair. Step your right foot up under the seat of the chair. Step your left foot back about 3.5 to 4 feet. Your toes are pointing towards the left side of your chair. You don't want them turned totally out. You don't want them straight ahead. You want them kind of a little check mark angle. So if your right foot forward, your other foot slightly out. Not this, not this. Just for a moment, activate your feet like you have been all day. Push, or at least through this class, push down through the 5 metatarsals of the right foot. Push down through the right big toe in the center of the heel. Stretch your right hip back. Roll your left hip forward as you push down through the left big toe, left pinky toe joint. Don't push or twist your ribs or your shoulders. Straighten your arms. Roll your left hip forward. So that means your leg, the trunk of your leg has to move. Because if you find yourself twisting your ribs already, that's not the pose. Your pelvis isn't in place. Once your legs are strong, take your right hand to your right hip. Twist, not by moving your legs, but can you move the bottom floating rib towards the ceiling on the right side? So you twist your rib cage first. Then your shoulders follow. So that's your right side. Your left side. Pull your bottom left ribs under you more. From the back to the front. Your rib cage is circular. It starts from the back side, it wraps around to the front side. So stretch from the back rib all the way around to the front rib. Like if I were to grab your rib cage and twist you. I won't do it to her, she might slap me at this point. She smiles because she will. So just breathe into the twist. It doesn't have to be a deep twist. It's just about re-stabilizing your spine. This is where we started. This is where we've gone back to. Some practices can be very, very small in number of poses and follow this kind of building rhythm and receding. So you see some of the difference after. Even though it's a different pose, can you still apply some of the same technique? Work your legs to make the twist work more. There you go. All right, untwist, put your feet. Left foot forward, right foot back. You know the check mark position of the feet. Right, right. Left big toe down, left pinky toe joint, center of the heel. Work your legs first. Remember pushing into the strap and then stretching through the heel. Do the same with the right leg. Roll the right hip forward so it's more balanced. And then the twist goes up to your ribs. Left ribs roll up towards the ceiling. From the front of the rib, following the circumference of the line, so your left rib cage rolls towards the back. The back left rib cage goes to the right back side of the rib cage sweeps around to the front. So now both sides of your spine are moving because both sides of your rib cage are moving. Again, it's not about how deep you go right now. Breathe into it more. Can you get something more out of this than intensity? Can you give yourself something different than what your ego tells you or what your, especially the ego of, well, I practice this all the time. I can go super deep. Why is he not letting me go deeper? There's different lessons in this. Take a few more breaths. All right, take your hands down. Slowly up you come. Very good. All right, if you have to go because the 7 o'clock hour is your cutoff, take off. Thank you so much for being here. The rest of you, we're going to continue. Grab a yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block at home, very big books are great. If you got Encyclopedia Britannicas, you strap them together, make a great block. But if you do got a block, lay flat on your back again. Isn't that nice? You get to lay down again. So lay down on the green mat. There you go. Yeah. So you're going to lay flat on your back. And you're going to take your block or your big book or books. I would do one if you have a book. Place it between your knee joints. Narrow. So each side of the knee will be touching the flat side of the block. So you'll see the narrow part facing you. Squeeze the knees into the block as hard as you possibly can. Crack it like a walnut. Even though Italy's not happening this year, 2021, Italy, the return. So when you squeeze your knees into the block or the book, pick up both feet up off of the floor so the knees are directly above the hip and hold. Just hold that for a minute because we're going to work on some twisting and how the position of the feet affect your back. And the strength of the legs can really release your lower pelvis spine, especially making pranayama work different later on. So when you squeeze this block, notice which muscles want to work. Can your glutes flex to help? Can your thighs flex? Or do you grip only with your groin muscle? So I like to think about, don't just try to squeeze the inner joint of the knee into this. Try to touch the inner lower part of the thigh into the block and the inner part of the calf to the block. Don't move it, just move those two muscle sets that direction. So yes, the block may only be physically touching the bone, but you're trying to move those two muscles into it. It might give you a hip cramp. She's giving me the eyebrow wiggle. I mean, yeah. Now, for most of us, the feet are hanging down lower than the knee. I would like for you to keep them there for a moment like that. And instead, think about flexing the buttock and not pushing your spine down. This is about the buttock moving to create the action. Tuck the buttock up towards the knees. So you're pulling the bottom of your buttock up towards the knee joint, but not pulling the knees closer to your body. So this takes a lot of deep flexion of your glutes and your core, but you'll notice your back muscles get kind of pull in this and they level towards the floor. Do not flex and press your spine down. Make your glute and your core tuck to lengthen the spine naturally. Are we aware? Even if you held this for a long time, those of us with back pain and groin pain, this does a lot to relieve that, including sciatica. We do not want to compress the spine flat, but this is not the muscles pressing it flat. This is the muscles lengthening it. And so those tight back muscles kind of go from that curved arch to a levelness towards the floor. This happens over time. So now that you've got the glutes tucked, pick your feet up to the height of your knees. so your shin and femur bone are in a perpendicular. Are you still trying to touch the inner calf into the block and the inner thigh into the block and not just the inner knee joint? Woo! Are we aware? Yeah, he's aware. All right, we're good on time. Now the action. Now we add a twist to this. Now with the extended spine, the active legs, keep both legs active and be aware of which one wants to quit. Take both legs to your right, only 10 inches. Or what you think 10 inches is. You're going to roll kind of onto the outer hip, not fully onto the hip joint, but just to the right side of your glute. Great. And now check in with your legs. Which leg stops squeezing? Probably the right one. Inner thigh, inner calf. Did your knees start to bend more? Pick the shins up to parallel. Now tuck your buttocks harder, especially the right glute, because that's the side of your back that will be easiest to compress in this. And then go 10 inches deeper. So you're maybe, you know, a third of the way to the floor. Actually, you're halfway to the floor. Let's say half. Tuck your glutes. The more you tuck your glutes, don't just press your back. That's very easy to do. Flex the buttock and pull the bottom of your buttock to your knee. And then go down to float 1 inch off of the floor. Best you can. You may have fallen out of this, but you only go as far as you can and maintain it, and then maybe even back off of the most extreme form so you can build the stability. Your arms can be stretched out. Come back to center, but when you come back, don't lose the legs, don't lose the tuck of the glute, don't make your low back do the work. How's that feel? Oh, well, a lot. Her sinus is cleared. It's a Christmas miracle. Actually, this is really nice to open all that up. And it's very weird why it does it, but that's a whole other talk about the nerve system of your spine and the tension to the muscles of your face. That's a long, very long talk. Tuck your buttocks, squeeze the inner knees into the block. Inner thighs, inner calf. Try to touch it, even though it won't probably. And you can move the block to do so, but try to do it without. Now, tuck the glutes. Don't push your low back down. Let your low back drop and relax, but you have to feel the core flex to pull the front pelvis towards your ribs, and the glutes flex to pull the glutes up. So your pelvis is getting both sides of it, muscle sets, rolling it. If you push your spine down, this is not going to be fun. Not like this is a super great time either, but you know, we're trying. Take both legs to the left 10 inches. So you're about a, you know, third of the way down, quarter way down, somewhere in that range. Check in with your legs. Which legs dropped out? Bring it back in. Inner thigh, inner calf, inner knee. And then check in with your abdominals and the glute muscles. Which glute unfired? Refire it. Every cheek looks cuter with a dimple. So put some dimples in those things and pick them up a little. And then go 10 inches deeper so you're at the halfway point. And even if you stay at the first 10 inches because you're shaking and you're hating it, work on that hate. Work there. I know. Take a breath. And then if you want to go deeper, go with the control of your legs. Keep your shins up to your feet are parallel with your knees. We can make this even harder if we put your feet against a wall, because then you activate your legs through your feet and do it. Try it at home sometime. I know they're at home. That's why it's a bad joke. Thanks. What are you, the Muppets what are you, the old Muppets from the Muppet Show? Yeah, thanks. Bring your legs up. All right, try it with your legs straight now. You did not hear that sigh that came from her. You probably did, even without the microphone. Stretch your legs up, squeeze squeeze the knees and calves into the block. Do the best you can. You may not go far on this. This is very hard. But to help, instead of just pulling the leg to you on the groin and the low back, remember what we did at the very start. Point your foot. Point your foot and then stretch through your heel at the same time. Then go 10 inches to the right. That's all you're going to do. Come on, go 10 inches. Work your legs. Work your feet first, then your quads, then your glutes are into it. Work the glutes really intensely here. Back up. 10 inches to the left. Very nice. Focus on your breath. Point your feet. Push through those 5 joints like there was something to press into that's going to save you. Tuck your glutes like the floor is made of lava. There you go. Everyone's doing great. Bring your legs up. Bend your knees, push your feet into the floor. Now, you're going to take your block out from between your knees or your book, and you're going to lift your hips. And if you have a block, if you're not familiar with block anatomy, the highest point is tall, the middle height is edge, and of course flat is the lowest point. You're going to put the block on edge under your sacral plate. Your sacral plate, if you're not familiar with that, is above your tailbone and below your spine. It's right at the top of your gluteal cleft. Gluteal cleft, of course, being a fancy word for butt crack. As this pandemic goes on, I don't know what language is going to come out, right? It all So, as you see where the block is for your own body, if you need to look at Tristan to kind of make sure it's in the right space, it's pretty dark right now, so you might not be able to see clearly. But the block is right under the sacral plate. Hips are level. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, doming the heart. You might even bend the elbows so the palms are facing each other above, across your chest, and push the elbow, tricep, and shoulder into the floor to puff your chest up higher. Stretch both legs straight up in the air, please. Now, if I was a cruel teacher, I would have you grab a block and put it between your knees. I am not a cruel teacher right now, but I can't stop you if you want to do it at home. So while I adjust the light in here, if you decide to, do it now. I need a lighting crew. There we go. That's much better. All right. So regardless if you're just doing the one block under your sacral plate or the second one between your thigh or your knees also, bring your thighs towards each other. Push down on the knee, elbows, push down on the shoulder. Remember, you're not pushing your low back down. Pelvis level, flex your glutes. Take both legs to your right, 10 inches. Now, I didn't ask you to activate your legs though. Hopefully you did, but pause here with your 10 inches to the right, push through the front 5 joints of your foot, and then push through the center of the heel and see what difference that creates in your legs. Makes a difference, Tris? What's the difference? She just shakes a little more. All right, legs up. To the left 10 inches. Point your foot, stretch through the heel. So inner, outer, top, front, back, top, bottom of the leg, everything's engaged. Great, back to center, feet on the floor. Keep the heart domed, squeeze the shoulder blades together, push the elbows down, hands down. Cross your right thigh over your left thigh. It is not ankle over knee, but thigh over thigh. So your right hamstring, inner thigh lays on your left leg. Squeeze your right pinky toe towards your left calf as best you can. It may not touch it, but it should be active pushing forward. And now even here, try to press through the right big toe, right pinky toe, and the center of the heel. So even though that right leg is laying on the left, it's very active in its extension over it. And it's not just curling the toes. Push through that right heel so the right inner thigh, right hamstring suctions to that left thigh. Take your left thigh up off the floor so your knees are above your hip. Take both legs to your right, 10 inches or so. Dome the heart. Flex your buttocks. There you go. So you stabilize your hip, and it goes right onto that tight piriformis muscle on the right side of your sacral plate. Piriformis wraps around from one hip across the sacral plate to the other, and it gets cranky. Should be bad. Work your right leg, pointing through the front 5 joints and through the center of the heel. Be very active, especially in the right heel. Push through your right heel more, Tristan. Not just to the other leg, but like you're trying to slide the right heel to your left toes. There you go. So right inner thigh suctions to the left thigh. Feel the difference? Good. Bring your legs up. Switch your legs. Bring your feet to the floor for a moment so you can switch your left thigh over your right now. Point your left foot, not just the toes, but through the 5 joints, and then stretch your left heel down like you're trying to slide your left heel towards your right heel. And squeeze it towards the calf. Pick your legs up, both legs to the left 10 inches. Flex your glutes as you go. So you're not tucking your back. If you feel your back flatten or your chest drop, that's you engaging your lower back and not firing your glute muscles. The reason I'm focusing on the firing of the glute and the inner thigh engagement is this is what really changes the sacral plate, the lower back, the pelvis, and it may ache. There's going to be lots of muscle in there that's tight. If you have sciatica, if you think you have a weak core, this stabilizes all of that stuff that makes most of us have low back pain. Thumb your heart, Tristan. Thank you. Flex your left glute. So cute. Flex the left glute. Thank you. Take a couple more breaths. Unfold. Take your feet down. Take the block out. Lay flat on the floor for a minute. Stretch your legs out. Decompress. Just for a moment. Roll to your right side. Slowly up you come. If you have a bolster or a blanket, or if you don't have either of those, you can lay on something just to prop your chest up, couch cushions, whatever. Grab a bolster here. So if you're using a blanket, put it in bolster fold or tri-fold. If you have a blanket at home, you probably know what that is. But if you're using a couch cushion or a bolster, you're going to lay the bolster down the length of your mat or whatever space you're using, your rug. I don't want to assume we're all playing with the same toys. If your body's cools down when laying down for any period of time doing breath or pranayama work, now's the time to grab a shirt, blanket to cover your body. Scoot your hips right up against the bolster, blanket, or cushion and lay back. If you need something for your neck, feel free to grab a pillow, another blanket, any neck tension, or you feel like your chin is pointing really high up. Tristan's isn't, so she really doesn't need it. And then stretch your arms out and relax. Get to this, and then we'll begin in just the next minute. Don't fall asleep. All right. So you can let your eyes close. And take a moment to notice when you close the eyes, where the eyes want to move around to. So they start to look through the corners of the eyes, up, down, left, right, whatever it is. So when you're laying down, take a brief moment, open your eyes gently, and then turn your eyes to look at the tip of your nose. And then close your eyes while still looking towards the tip of your nose. This action will give you a little bit more focus without straining your eye. What can happen is when we close the eyes and then try to move the eye in a direction that we can't clearly see, it causes a lot of tension around the muscle and the muscle that surrounds the orb itself. If you've ever had those little like floaters in the eye, you move the eye around the little shapes or squiggles, that's bursted blood vessels because of stress, and the muscles around the eye are squeezing it. So anything we can do, especially in this kind of stuff, to relax it, very good. All right. So if any point you find that you lose that, just open your eyes briefly, look at the tip of your nose, close them. Relax the jaw, relax the skin across the scalp. Actively, think about the skin is one big organ. You can relax it too. Just like when you take slow, deep breaths, you relax your stomach. Do the same for the skin of your body. Because remember, the first thing that's going to get a lot of sensory is the skin itself. Touch, temperature, a lot comes through there. So can you kind of, give it permission to just feel? Very good. So when you start in pranayama tonight, I'm going to touch on a couple things. Just follow along, breathing gently. You can explore these as we go. Remember, breathing only through the nose. If at any point you start to have tension in your body from this, open your eyes, breathe normally for a second, let it reside. If you need to sit up or move, that's okay. Do so, and then you can rejoin us if you like. When we're breathing in and out, we're going for a smoothness of breath that doesn't come from force. Force doesn't create a longevity of practice. Force kind of puts us in a cage that can create an emotional rebound, right? Someone forces you to do something over and over you don't like, you might start to resent them. You force yourself to do something you're afraid, right? Just as wise sages once said, fear leads to anger, anger to hate, hate leads to a lot of damage in the world. They said the dark side, but we translate it as we need to. So whatever comes up for you, just be aware that you can come out of it and not force yourself into it. Sometimes only a minute or two of breathing is where you're at when you start touching those 5 distractions or disturbances of the mind. But if you fall asleep, enjoy, because sometimes you need that rest. So when you're creating that smoothness without force, can you breathe in through the nose and feel the coolness of the air hit the inner nostril and how high it goes up the inner nostril to just below the inner eye, down the tubes, and into the lungs. So instead of trying to force a lot of rhythm tonight, and if you want to pick up the beginning techniques, you can go back and look at the old videos. Tonight, make this about exploring the simple actions of the inhale, exhale, and then the retention. What are some more things that you can discover about this that makes what is considered the basic work more nuanced and yours? I can only give you stuff I've been taught, I've discovered, but I promise you there's a host of things in this that have yet to be found because only you can find them. So when you breathe in and feel that cool air come up through the inner nostril, hit the tubes, through near the inner corners of the eye, and then how far down does it go? When you exhale, feel the warmth come up and how it hits the outer tubes, the outer side of the tube that's a little more under the center of the eye, and then hits the outer nostril more. It was always a clear guide for if I'm breathing too hard or too slow, because if I breathe too slow, I can't feel it. I breathe too fast, nothing. So you're trying to hit that point where you can feel it on each side. Usually it's very easy in the nostril first because of the hairs and the skin. So. And can you just begin to smooth that out with each deep breath in and breath out through the nose, so that it doesn't become a thing of layering numbers and technique and pattern, but feeling your own pattern for a while. And then I'm going to offer some more insights, but one of the best things that I was ever taught in pranayama was how to drop all the technique and how just to do the simple thing of breathing. So I had questions to ask my teacher, because then it didn't just become I'm trying to match someone else's experience. I owned my own experience. Owning your experience in this practice is the yoga practice, is owning your 5 distractions or the modifications of the mind and seeking help to change them. All that from asking questions. And connecting to others, especially in this time when we don't get to connect to people in the same ways. Any connection is beautiful and nourishing, just like your inhale and your exhale. So feel the inner air, the inhale, drawing the air up through the nose, through the inner nostril, filling the stomach, filling the lungs. Let it extend, so the more your inhale that you have, the longer the inhale you have, the more you get to learn about it, the more questions you might come up with later. And as you exhale, feel the exhale, the warmth of it hit the outer tubes, below the eye, the outer nostril. Then maybe notice qualities of your breath. How would you describe your inhale? Fast, slow, happy, sad? What moods are attached to it? What theme song do you have going through your head? What colors, patterns, shapes? All of these might be hints to the things that go on the deeper layers of subconscious self that yoga helps us get in touch with. Not blank. Yoga is not blanking the mind. It's discovering it. What qualities do your exhales have? And especially in comparison to your inhale. Does your inhale and exhale find a balance? That allows you to use both as a kind of radar for what's going on inside of you. And then connect to the stomach and the lungs. Feel when you breathe in, which one feels first, which one feels fastest. Are you reaching your fullness? And when you exhale, are you letting there be complete emptiness? And what thoughts, fears, what muscle reactions come up for you when you think to completely exhale or completely inhale? What changes in the feeling of the skin when you take that full deep breath in? What changes for you in the feeling of the skin and the muscle when you completely exhale, in the stomach and in the lungs? All of this is kind of just little bits of information. One piece is probably not going to give you an epiphanal answer that is going to fix and make all the others moot. But each are a small piece of a very large puzzle or a thread in the tapestry that is you. Understanding, connecting to, is how we fully understand the greater picture of ourselves and the beauty of the tapestry of ourselves. There is no formula, post-sequence that gives you the right answer to you, but only guides you so you may discover the art that is you. And now when you add retention, kumbhaka, right, something we've practiced before, but right, this is about timing it. It's about your exploration of your own practice right now. When you take the breath in and you hit your fullest point and then you hold that fullness, what happened? What do you learn of your body when you're holding your breath for just a few seconds? Does one lung feel fuller than the other? Does one side of your nostril or your throat grip? And can you find a way to smooth it and let it go? When you exhale after holding your breath for a couple seconds, does your air rush out of you differently than when you were just breathing in the normal in-out rhythm? What qualities would you assign to your breath that you're holding? When the 5th Yoga Sutra says that there are 5 modifications of the mind, some are beneficial and some are not. I think there's a deep lesson in that about how those modifications that I read off at the beginning, there's 2 sides to them. The fact that some of them carry us forward through the things we go through, and we can use them to continue to discover ourselves. Even when we believe something that's been proven to not be true, right? It makes us question, and through questioning, we learn. Through learning, we enrich not just our life, but lives of those around us. Sleep, right, doesn't just disconnect us from the process of cognitive living, but nourishes and renews us. Here, feeling your breath, holding the fullness, your imagination may begin to go with you, take you places. Not because it's trying to hurt you, but maybe it's trying to show you something of yourself that may not have been up on the forefront or doesn't have words for right now. For things we've gone through, things we dream, things that need to come out, can only come out sometimes in picture or limerick or something that is so inside us, there's no way we could represent it. So those modifications may not necessarily be bad, but let's guide and use them to help us discover ourselves. So now that you're working the inhale, retention of the full inhale and the exhale. On your next exhale, once you've completely exhaled, hold emptiness for a few seconds and discover the qualities of that. What is it to be completely empty of the most base process that keeps us alive? Just for a couple of seconds. And what do you discover about you? Like for me, did I exhale completely? Did my diaphragm grip? My right leg likes to flex when I exhale for some reason. I get a little egotistical and try to hold emptiness longer. What comes up for you? What are the threads in your tapestry? What are the modifications trying to hide, or what are they trying to share with you? And all that stuff that came up for you, all that information you have, all the threads that you now see. On your next exhale, for a brief moment, can you let them just sit and be with them? Not trying to untangle them or understand them or change them. Because ultimately, can we let all of it go? Because we are more than the sum of our problems. We're more than all the great things we've done, the money we've earned, the family we've built. Can we let go of those threads that may be the tapestry of us and let that part of ourselves go to something greater? That part of yourself, that intuition, that spirit, that may be your faith, even if you don't prescribe to anything, that part of yourself that calls you to be inspired. Can you go to that? Can you let each breath, let those threads go? So there's just you and that for a brief moment. With each breath in, slow breath out. Take a nice deep breath in. Stretch your arms overhead, lengthening your body through one side and the other. Let your exhale invigorate you, energize you. Take another deep breath in. Let it empower you from the tips of your fingers, tips of your toes. When you're ready on your exhale, roll to your right side, press your hands into the floor, and slowly up you come. All right. So, Tristan, would you be willing to turn the light? I'm going to unmute everybody. If you want to ask questions for a few minutes, please feel free to. If you don't, you can take off. So nice to see everybody. So, what's up?
Dustin.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, hon. On the posture, what's the one with one knee and the leg out to the side, right?
Which posture was that?
The
Redefine
one
that.
that we're on one knee with the leg out to the side.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Is the foot straight out to the side or slightly forward with the toes?
Oh, I see. So when your knee is on the floor, Tristan, would you demo? Swinging gait. Swinging gait.
Yeah, swinging gait, right.
So watch Tristan for a second. So from your knees, she's going to stretch her right leg out. Her toes are starting, she's going to start with them forward. Turn them in. This is wrong. You're going to turn them out all the way. That is wrong. In the middle.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought. Now, the second thing, I had a lot of trouble with that, is I get cramps in the back of my Achilles heel. It feels
Ooh.
cramped.
I'm
Yeah.
happy for you.
Oh, okay, good, thank you.
Caitlin
And then
lost
the
them.
last question on that is when I swing that, when I turn the thigh and the hip goes back,
Yes,
it feels like the head of the femur is going out.
correct.
That is correct?
100% correct. It is not a parallel pelvis pose. The pelvis shifts slightly.
Okay.
The pelvis of the leg that is straight shifts back slightly and becomes a lateral. It sticks out. You're going to have a glute there because if you try to suck it in, it crimps your lower back. It does stick out so you can extend the lateral body deeper.
Well, yeah, I can get down further that way.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
not tuck that buttock in. That will damage your hip joint.
Okay.
Like I said, do not put your pelvis between two panes of glass.
Okay. That was for that posture. And just one other reflection, when we were doing all the soup de bas descent, pushing into my metatarsal was great. I love it because it felt like what I do when I dance. But keeping that and extending through the heel.
Hard.
Okay.
Hard. It's
Yes.
just hard. So hard. Go from here where we either point, which is all the arch, all the ankle, right? This, right? But you're touching the heel at the same time, so the whole calf lines up, and the arch of the foot, so we have both sides of the leg very strong. This
Yeah.
soft calf, collapsed arch, collapsed ankle, both very structured, stable, all the way into the knee.
I always felt like I was shorter behind than I was in front. It felt like
That's normal. Like it took a long time to be able to extend and then to set both and equal.
yeah.
It took me a number of years to be able to lengthen this and keep this at the same time. But it will come.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anyone else?
Hi, Dustin.
Hi, Caitlin.
So whenever I was on a supta pose, actually the block underneath my sacral plate.
Sure. Set your
Wait, no.
bunda.
No. The one with the block in between our knees.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The
That
quote.
one. I mean, it was definitely really hard for me to even lift my feet off with the ground without my back like arching up.
Right. That's normal.
Okay.
So when you pick your knees up the first time, your back may arch up, and that just shows that you're using a lot of your groin and your low back muscle. Not abnormal, but the thing to do is then, like I said, try to tuck your buttock deeper.
Yeah.
So you get that level, not push your spine down, but the more you tuck your buttock, and that takes firing the glutes, and it's very hard for those of us with hypermobility. It is one of the harder things to learn to stabilize our backs and our pelvises by flexing the pelvis and rolling it while we're laying down like that, instead of pushing our low backs to do it. But so it's even a good practice just to squeeze the block, tuck the buttocks while they're on the ground super deep, and then just try even float like the toes up and then the heels up and then work both sides of the leg, and then you'll eventually get both up. That's the way to do it.
I just need to keep practicing that one.
Well, you can reach out. You got some credit.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So is Natalie there with you still?
Yeah, she's here.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi.
hi guys. Great practice. Definitely found the awareness of really in that same posture Caitlin was working on by tucking the glutes instead of using the lower back.
Yeah.
It took off the pressure off of my hip flexors. I was like, oh, there you go. Yeah, that was great.
You can do a lot for that. All right. Anyone else? No one? That's it? Well, it's so nice to see everybody. Daphne's
Really
nice to
loved
see you.
this class, Dustin.
Okay, I'm
Really,
glad.
really did. Yeah, it helped a lot.
Right. Well, we're going to keep doing it as long as, there's people to come, I guess. Right. So we'll keep making some fun here, and I'll keep doing what I can to share the craziness that I come up with. Right now that I have all this free time, I sit there and think of like, ooh, how am I going to make that cramp?
Well, I can definitely tell you're trying to make us burn. That's for sure. All in good ways.
Yeah.
And thank you, Tristan, for suffering for us.
Yeah.
Namaste, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace,
See you
everybody.
Thursday.
Good night.
See everybody Thursday.